I want to show you something. So this is a character I was working on, and I know it's not the best, but I haven't really had much time to spend on sculpting, and I want to share this little tip that might help you because I'm sure we've all been guilty of this at some point in our lives, and that is adding too much detail. Because it is just so easy to add panel lines everywhere, right? I'm sure you've done it, I've done it. And I mean, it's not like it looks bad, it looks cool, but I actually want you to go the opposite direction. So what I'm gonna do here is just grab a scrape brush and get rid of some of this detail. Clean it out, just to see what it looks like. And let's go further, a little bit more intensely. There you go. And let's clean out some of these edges because I lost some detail there I didn't want to lose. Anyway, the point is that just look how much nicer it looks when there's this clear distinction between what is meant to be like the armor plate and then some high intensity detail that's around the edges. So that always works. Having really big shapes and then smaller shapes in like clusters or around the edges, and just add some detail there. And why am I working on such a low resolution? I just like working like that. Keep things very, very sketchy until, well, as long as possible actually. Just do whatever you want. I like hinting at a lot of stuff. But yeah, it looks so much nicer to have something like that. And pretty sure we can do something similar with the back though, but we'll get to that in a second. And I mean, it's not wrong to add panel lines here. Like, we can still do that. But there's still that like distinction between the different areas of detail. And once we add materials as well, then that distinction is going to be even more obvious. So I'm sure you've heard of this more as like big, medium, and small, or the 70-30 rule. Actually, those are different rules, but they all sort of like talk about the same thing, and that's contrast, because contrast is what draws people's attention. And let's actually go back here. So if you just want to showcase your modeling or your sculpting skills and you just want to add as much detail as possible, that's fine. But I wouldn't approach it by adding detail here and then here and trying to fill out every possible gap. I would always try to do it the way we just did it, by having some big shapes and then some smaller shapes, and then just keep going down that like rabbit hole, like taking that big shape and then making something smaller, and then taking this smaller piece and trying to make an even smaller detail inside of it, you know? So don't just split everything up evenly, but have those different sized shapes. So I'm going to clean this out as well. That's not the brush for that. Let's just fill in all of this detail. And if you're not sure if you're gonna like it, then you're not a computer dude. You can just duplicate this mesh and work on the copy, and it's totally fine. So let's clean this out as well. Exact same way. I'm just gonna scrape this off. Or you can use H polish if you're on ZBrush, or trim dynamic. Doesn't really matter. The point is, don't get too attached to all the detail, and just try different things. If it's not really working for you, get rid of it. That will just open up a whole bunch of possibilities, because something we do is we add a little bit of detail and then we like it so much that we never change that entire area, so we can never get that shape to work. So just get rid of it. So what are we gonna do here? I guess we can make this shape a little more interesting, because right now it's just this big block. Do something like this. So we clean that piece out, more or less. And let's move some of that detail to the edges. So we have something going on here. Don't really know what that is, but... And we also had a little bit of like vents in there. So let's just, we can like add those again, but make them a little bit smaller. You know, create that hierarchy of big, medium, and small shapes. That's basically just mush because I don't have enough resolution. But look how much nicer it looks. Instead of like filling out everything evenly, just have a big shape and have small shapes. Something like that. I don't really plan out any of this, but I think this looks just a little bit more interesting to like compared to what we had before. And it doesn't have to, all that detail doesn't have to be around the edges specifically. Like right here, we did add it inside the shape. We can have like little clusters of detail. Super low res. I just like working that way, keeping everything sketchy. And I don't know, like I said, I didn't plan anything, so, but I think it's still like a slight improvement over what we had before. But yeah, just experiment, try different things out. Also, you know what? While we're here, shameless plug, I made an add-on for Blender called Curve Basher, which is very useful for creating curves and cables and that sort of stuff. For example, I can press the C key and then just click on the mesh a couple of times and create a curve, which is unusually large. So I didn't really design this for high poly sculpting. In fact, it might actually be kind of slow for that. But it's just a lot of fun to use. This is like one tool of the many that are included in this add-on. So if you like that sort of stuff. Oh, another thing we can do with Curve Basher is just have all those curves selected, press J, and scroll to replace them with something else. And we have tons of presets that are included. Some are completely useless. This one's not bad. Hey, so you can do stuff like that. So if you're interested, there's a link to that below.